Like, these WNBA women can say, but the stories coming out of the WNBA and the recruitment. And the lesbianism and the pressure to be a lesbian is terrible, horrendous. And you know, essentially what it is a bunch of angry black lesbians mad at this woman, Caitlin Clark, for doing her thing, she's got the money. The reality is this, Angel Reese, and whatever other players are in the WNBA, without Caitlin Clark, we wouldn't be talking about your league, period. Did you hear that? The WNBA has always aimed to represent the pinnacle of women's basketball. But as the league grows, so do its controversies. Caitlin Clark is bringing this money. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma against the LGBTQ+ community. One of the most debated and contentious topics surrounding the WNBA isn't about the gameplay, the stats, or even the talent. It's about identity, or, to be more specific, sexual orientation. You know, it's not an undercover secret that there seems to be a lesbian, bisexual, LGBTQ+ presence in women's basketball, specifically the WNBA, and again, even on the college level. And I'm here to discuss some theories. Is the league becoming a space where certain identities dominate to the point of ostracizing others? The real issue is that WNBA is becoming more and more lesbian-dominated. Recent accounts from players like Caitlin Clark and former Lynx star Candace Wiggins suggest there's a growing divide in the WNBA, one rooted in conformity, exclusion, and sexual orientation. Caitlin Clark is a white, heterosexual woman in a black lesbian league, and they resent and are jealous of all of the attention and the shoe deal that she got. And instead of recognizing the truth, which is great athletes who people care about coming into your league, really do make everybody more money and, hey, get you charter airplane flights instead of flying commercial. The latest of these victims has been none other than the rookie sensation Caitlin Clark. Her rookie season was nothing short of phenomenal as she brought unprecedented attention to the league. Yet, instead of being celebrated universally, Clark became a lightning rod for criticism. Her identity, white, straight, and unafraid to showcase her confidence, has seemingly painted a target on her back. They hate straight. Well, I think they hate Caitlin Clark because she's a conservative, straight, white female. That got a lot to do with it. Because most of the women in the NBA are gay black women. Just saying. Clark herself has had the difficulties of navigating a predominantly black and LGBTQ+ league while being someone who doesn't fit neatly into those demographics. But anyway, so Caitlin Clark, little white girl, all the publicity, heterosexuals getting ready to enter a world that is awful, horrendous. In fact, if the WNBA really, truly wanted to be treated like other sports leagues, it would be shut down for just that. Reports of bullying, cold shoulders, and thinly veiled hostility have emerged, highlighting a toxic undercurrent. Many commentators, such as Bill Maher, have stated that Caitlin is being targeted because she's not a lesbian. Bill Maher thinks WNBA rookie and #1 draft pick Caitlin Clark is being targeted by other players because she's not a lesbian and she's white. Let's watch. It's everything. It's women are catty. The league is very lesbian and she's not. And there's race. There's a lot going on. The most telling sign? The fact that Clark's biggest moments, both on and off the court, are often met with skepticism or outright disdain by certain pockets within the league. The situation with Caitlin Clark, who has brought ice to women's basketball and has been treated like she's a criminal. Like, it's just even when there's opportunities for women's sports to be independent because before you're still being treated like you're not doing enough. It isn't the race thing, is it? Because of her sexuality? Like, she doesn't check enough boxes. What do you think the issue is? However, Clark isn't the first to speak up about these issues. Candace Wiggins, who spent 8 years in the WNBA, has been one of the league's most vocal critics of its cultural dynamics. Toxic and harmful, Candace Wiggins says that's how things were for her in the WNBA because she is a straight woman. Wiggins' name should sound familiar to all of you. She did play for the Minnesota Lynx. This week, former Lynx player Candace Wiggins took a shot. This one not aimed at the hoop, but the whole league. In a candid interview with the San Diego Union Tribune, Wiggins, who retired last March after 8 seasons in the WNBA, said she was bullied throughout her career essentially for being straight. Quote, I would say 98% of the women in the WNBA are gay women. It was a conformist type of place. There was a whole different set of rules. Her allegations of bullying and ostracization for being straight sent shockwaves through the basketball world. While the league remained silent, Wiggins is doubling down on her statements, but getting plenty of backlash from other players. Wiggins was outspoken and faced huge criticism for her allegations. Yet she stood her ground. I would say 98% of the women in the WNBA are gay women, Wiggins told the San Diego Union Tribune. It was a conformist type of place. People were deliberately trying to hurt me all the time. They could apply. End quote. She goes on to say, quote, people were deliberately trying to hurt me all the time. I had never been called the B word so many times in my life that I was in my rookie season. I'd never been thrown to the ground so much. The message was, we want you to know we don't like you. According to Wiggins, her rookie season was marred by a level of hostility she had never experienced before. I had never been called the B word so many times in my life. I'd never been thrown to the ground so much, she recounted. We reached out to the links. No comment. WNBA. No comment. So the narrative gets rolled over to social media, where several current and former players are speaking out. Misty Bates said that wasn't her experience. Imani Boyette wondering why Wiggins is shaming the whole league. Devereaux Peters also refuting the claims. In the time I've covered the league, no one has ever told me that on or off the record, that they felt like they were bullied in the league. Wiggins came under a heavy backlash because of her statements, with many players coming to defend the WNBA and their sexual group. The message she received was clear. We want you to know we don't like you. Yeah. She said me being heterosexual and straight, and being vocal in my identity as a straight woman was huge. I would say 98% of the women in the WNBA are gay women. It was a conformist type of place. There was a whole different set of rules the other players could apply. There was a lot of jealousy and competition, and we're all fighting for crumbs. The way I looked, the way I played, those things contributed to the tension. People were deliberately trying to hurt me all of the time. I had never been called the B word so many times in my life than I was in my rookie season. Can you believe this? Candace Wiggins also exposed the WNBA culture as extremely toxic. And it was the sole reason that she retired 2 years earlier than she had anticipated. As Candace came out with her revelation, the LGBTQ members of the WNBA were furious about this exposed secret. They also came out with their own narrative in order to twist and lie about that. If you like the video, then please comment on the video and also subscribe to the channel. Candace's statements. Well, I think it was important to respond to this, and I think that, obviously with Candace's statements and what she had to say, that's huge, and you don't want to look away from that, and her being bullied and feeling uncomfortable in the WNBA. That's not what you want. That's not what we want as a league, and that type of thing. Breanna Stewart, who is also a lesbian WNBA player, came out to defend the WNBA and to twist Candace's story into something else. She also called her out, saying that she was marginalizing the LGBTQ community and being homophobic. She also went on to say that she had not been bullied in her rookie season. Well, that's convenient because last time I checked, she's not straight like Caitlyn or Candace, so it only makes sense that she won't get targeted like the straight players. Since it started, she's not saying Wiggins' claims aren't true, but she is saying they are bold statements that lack context. I called her and, wanted to get her response, to those statements. And she said she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She didn't understand why the comments were getting a lot of attention and that she just wanted peace and privacy to say those kind of things that are that inflammatory about while the WNBA has made strides in creating an inclusive and progressive space. The question remains, is that inclusivity truly universal or is it conditional, favoring some identities over others? What other sport leagues tolerate two dudes screwing in the locker room? What other sports leagues tolerate we're not practicing today because Sally broke up with Susie and we're all upset? What other sports league tolerates that? And I'll tell you, the only other one, women's athletics in college. My next door neighbor quit University of Penn when she came home and her teammate was in bed with another teammate and she's like, yeah, this ain't my thing. That's right. Clark and Wiggins' accounts paint a picture of a league where conformity to a specific identity, largely LGBTQ+, seems to be an unspoken rule. The world of lesbians is not all seashells and balloons. It's awful. It's recruiting. It's dominating. It's mind games. Representation matters, and the WNBA has been a trailblazer in championing diversity, especially for LGBTQ+ athletes. Players like Sue Bird, Brittany Griner, and Diana Taurasi have become icons not just for their skills, but for their courage in living authentically. However, When representation turns into dominance and dominance into exclusion, it undermines the very principles the league claims to uphold. The idea of a modern-day lesbian league isn't just a provocative headline, it's a reflection of how some outsiders and even insiders perceive the WNBA. For players like Wiggins, the league's cultural dynamics felt more like a club with rigid membership rules than a professional sports organization. This perception isn't just damaging to the WNBA's reputation, it also risks alienating potential fans and players who don't see themselves represented in the league's dominant narrative. Clark's experience is emblematic of a broader struggle within the WNBA. As a young, white, straight woman dominating in a league with a different cultural landscape, she's both celebrated and scrutinized. Her confidence, often mistaken for arrogance, has made her a polarizing figure. Yet, her contributions to the league are undeniable. Clark has brought in fans who might never have watched a WNBA game before. She's expanded the league's audience, broken stereotypes, and proven that women's basketball is worth watching. But the cost of her individuality has been high. The scrutiny she faces goes beyond typical sports rivalries. It's deeply personal, often veering into outright hostility. And while Clark remains focused on her game, the toll of navigating such an environment is hard to ignore. The WNBA is at a pivotal moment. It can continue to celebrate its diversity while also addressing the exclusionary behaviors that some players have experienced. This requires acknowledging the uncomfortable truths that players like Wiggins and Clark have brought to light. It also means fostering an environment where players of all identities feel welcome and valued without fear of ostracization. The league's future depends on its ability to strike this balance. If the WNBA wants to grow, it needs to embrace players like Clark who bring new fans, perspectives, and energy to the game. At the same time, it must ensure that its culture doesn't devolve into the very exclusion it seeks to combat. The WNBA's identity crisis isn't just a problem for the league, it's a reflection of broader societal struggles around diversity, inclusion, and representation. Caitlin Clark and Candace Wiggins' experiences highlight the complexities of navigating these issues in a professional sports context. If the WNBA wants to remain a leader in women's sports, it must confront these challenges head-on and ensure that its vision of inclusivity extends to everyone, not just those who fit a specific mold. Only then can it truly live up to its promise as a league for all. So what do you think? Is the WNBA overwhelmingly LGBTQ-based, or does it actually practice what it preaches? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting updates from the world of basketball. Thanks for watching, and subscribe my channel.